Hello and welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. There's a lot of stuff that happened this week again, so let's get stuck in right away. News number one are a bit of a familiar news these days, but today, as when the video is released, the first inaugural crypto summit ball announcement will take place in Washington, D.C. in the USA. And there's a lot of speculation that the Trump administration will announce a strategic, I'm calling it now, Bitcoin reserve. But there comes a little twist with that. See, this Bitcoin reserve is more essentially going to turn into a crypto reserve because based on posts on Trump's Truth Social platform, which then got shared everywhere on social media, he is very eager to add Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, and XRP to that reserve. For some reason, the US president doesn't yet realize the difference between Bitcoin and crypto and why it's essentially a bad idea to add these tech startups to the reserve itself. I actually made a video about this. I'll link it below where I explain the key differences. But most of these projects are actually an exit liquidity if you're an insider for people who get in. So it doesn't really make sense to use that as a reserve asset if you have Bitcoin on the other hand. However, I'm always trying to give a positive spin here. This is the first step into the digital assets ecosystem for a big nation state. They could do it differently like El Salvador did, more on that later. However, I think everyone has started with their altcoin phase somehow. So this seems to be the altcoin phase for the USA. But you have to say that there could be a shortcut to that if you were just to add Bitcoin instead and Bitcoin only. But as this is speculation currently, I will definitely recap this next week to see what the announcement will be. It could also be that it's just hot air and nothing happens. But for now, it seems like the US should be getting a Bitcoin/crypto reserve. But we're hoping that some of the Bitcoiners in the US can convince the government that, hey, if you actually want to do it right, you should just use Bitcoin. News number two come, as I mentioned, out of El Salvador because they did actually do the right thing and just started stacking Bitcoin. However, there are some new developments now there. The IMF has actually publicly stated in numerous reports last year and the years leading up to that, that Bitcoin is a pain point for them in that strategy in El Salvador itself. They're totally neglecting the positive effects it had on the country. And they're bringing up the old arguments again. Too volatile, too risky, not green enough, and all of that BS. And now it's moved into an interesting development where you do see that the IMF actually started giving out loans to El Salvador again, which they took in. And in detailed reports, they explained it would be prohibited to actually buy Bitcoin with it. If you now check the data on-chain with the official address from the El Salvadorian government, you would see that they have continued stacking sats. Now, I say, from a personal experience with other stuff I've covered in the past, and just with the state of nature, how it's being verified, it doesn't mean that because you see the number on the screen go up in terms of the Bitcoin size El Salvador has in their official wallets, that could be purchases. It could be that they transferred this out from previous purchases into this wallet now, so that it appears that there's more to stack, or they are legitimately buying Bitcoin with the IMF loan. However, I would say we need to treat these news with a little bit of caution. If it is true that they're buying Bitcoin and neglecting the IMF requirements here, okay, big move by the Bukele administration. If not, and they're still moving around old coins to the official address, I guess that's also a benefit. And also with these news, we just have to see until it's officially verified, ideally, dear El Salvadorian government, with a signature on-chain by the wallet where we can see when and where you bought the coins. But from the looks of it now, if we go just by the data, El Salvador is continuing adding Bitcoin. And the last news are internally, and we have two big news. News number one for all German speakers. We're going to host a webinar with Firefish next Tuesday, 11th of March at 5 p.m. European time, where we will talk about Bitcoin-backed loans. So if you speak German and you're interested in that topic, make sure to sign up. I will also link everything below. And then the second news are that we are now officially registered as a virtual asset service provider, VASP in short, in Italy. Meaning, if you speak English for some reason and you watch this video out of Italy, you will now find the Relai app in all of your available app stores. You can also use our services. You usually see the disclaimer in this video already. that this is a possibility, and it's the first step for us in actually expanding to Europe. We are very eager with the next steps we're going to do in Italy, and we're really welcoming our Italian users here. So if you've not yet done, please make sure to read our announcement post. And with that, we're at the end of this week in Bitcoin. You know the drill. If you got questions, feedback, or just want to say hello, leave me a comment below. And if you have a friend who is interested in these topics, send them our channel, urge them to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next week again.